Live from Cairo, this is Nile TV International. Time for Panorama News. I'm Mohammed Abdel Menem. We start with the headlines. French President Macron wraps up his visit to Egypt with a tour in El Arish city. Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli inaugurates EDA Fama next conference. And Iran warns U.S. to put aside a military option ahead of nuclear talks. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, accompanied by his French counterpart Emmanuel Macron, visited the port city of El Arish in northern Sinai on Tuesday at the end of a three-day official visit by the French leader to Egypt. The two leaders met with the humanitarian and security workers there to demonstrate their constant mobilization in favor of a ceasefire in Gaza and visited injured Palestinians at the El Arish General Hospital. Details in the following report.
Wrapping up a three-day official visit to Egypt, French President Emmanuel Macron, accompanied by President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, visited El Arish city in northern Sinai on Tuesday. The two leaders toured El Arish General Hospital in the port city, 50 kilometers west of the Gaza Strip, where they met the medical professionals and sick and injured Palestinians being evacuated from Gaza. The French leader condemned the targeting medical and humanitarian convoys in Gaza, reiterating that reaching humanitarian aid to the besieged territory is a top priority. He urged the immediate resumption of humanitarian aid to Gaza as quickly as possible, describing the situation today as intolerable. Macron strongly condemned an Israeli attack on paramedics and aid workers last month, carrying a bouquet of red roses to give to patients. The French president visited several wards as well as a play area for children. Macron's office said the trip was aimed at piling pressure on Israel for reopening of crossing points for the delivery of humanitarian goods into Gaza. In a joint statement, the heads of several UN agencies said many Gazans are trapped, bombed and starved again. While at crossing points, food, medicine, fuel and shelter supplies are piling up and vital equipment is stuck outside of the blockade territory. In Cairo on Monday, President Sisi, Macron and Jordan King Abdullah II held a tripartite meeting during which they called for an immediate return to a ceasefire in Gaza. They discussed the war in Gaza and humanitarian efforts to alleviate the suffering of Gaza's 2.4 million people, the vast majority of whom have been displaced at least once during the war. The three leaders conducted a phone call with U.S. President Donald Trump to discuss the need to reach a ceasefire in Gaza and release the hostages. Earlier, President Sisi and President Macron had talks that centered on bilateral ties and regional issues including Gaza, Syria, Yemen and Sudan, as well as illegal immigration. The two leaders witnessed the signing of the memos of understanding in various domains and the elevation of bilateral ties to the level of strategic partnership. Wrapping up their activities in the Tahadiyya Palace, the two leaders held an inspection tour at El Adli Mansour Interchange metro station in Cairo. The two presidents were received by Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli, Minister of Transport Kamel Al-Wazir and a number of senior state officials. Later, Macron visited the Cairo University headquarters where they attended an Egyptian-French Universities Forum. During his visit to Egypt, Macron had an inspection tour with President Sisi at Cairo Metro. They also strolled through Cairo's famous district of Khan al-Khalili, where some citizens took photos with the two leaders. Also, Macron visited the Grand Egyptian Museum.
Writing on social media platform X Social, French President Emmanuel Macron expressed backing for the reconstruction plan by Egypt of the Gaza Strip. Macron condemned the continuation of the Israeli bombing on Gaza and called for the freeing of all hostages and the resumption of the ceasefire. The French leader said the objective is to establish a Palestinian state led by the Palestinian National Authority. He stressed that peace can only be achieved through political settlements, adding that a two-state solution is pivotal to reach peace. Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli inaugurated EDA Pharma Next conference in Cairo on Tuesday. During the conference, Madbouli honored the heads of central administration at the Drug Authority. A documentary on Egyptian Drug Authority was displayed during the inaugural session. The conference was attended by Minister of Health and Population, Dr. Khaled Abdel Ghaffar, as well as Deputy Prime Minister for Industrial Development and Ministry of Industry, Kamil El-Wazir. It was also attended by head of the Egyptian Drug Authority, Dr. Ali Al-Ghamrawi, World Health Organization General Director, Tedros Adhanom, WHO representative, Dr. Naama Abid. Minister of Foreign Affairs, Immigration and Egyptian expatriates Badr Abdelati asserted Egypt's full support to the Lebanese President Joseph Aoun and the Lebanese government. Abdelati stressed Egypt's stance on backing the withdrawal of the Israeli occupation from the 5 Lebanese points and the full implementation to Resolution 117 without any conditions. The Foreign Minister's remarks came during his meeting with Lebanese former Prime Minister Najib Mikati on the sidelines of the Middle East-US Dialogue Conference held in Abu Dhabi. For his part, Mikati expressed his appreciation to Egyptian political leadership and hailed Egypt's support to Lebanon. On the sidelines of the Middle East-US Dialogue Conference held in Abu Dhabi, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Immigration and Egyptian expatriates Badr Abdelati met with U.S. Deputy Special Representative for the Middle East Policy and Acting Assistant Secretary of State for Near Eastern Affairs. The meeting addressed the Egyptian-American strategic partnership and ways to strengthen the framework of bilateral cooperation between the two countries to achieve common interests and advance this partnership to broader horizons. The two sides emphasized the importance of restoring calm in Gaza, consolidating the ceasefire agreement, and ensuring the implementation of its 3 phases. Abdelati reviewed a Gaza reconstruction plan which has been adopted by Arab countries in the European Union, Japan, and other international actors. Minister of Foreign Affairs, Immigration and Egyptian expatriates Badr Abdelati reviewed in a phone call with his Japanese counterpart Takeshi Iwaya Egypt's efforts to consolidate ceasefire agreement in Gaza and bring Israeli escalation and brutal aggression against the Palestinian people to a halt. The Japanese top diplomat underlined the importance of Egyptian mediation efforts, hoping to resume negotiations and enhance access of humanitarian aid to Palestinian people. For his part, Abdelati hailed bilateral ties and affirmed the importance of boosting cooperation in various domains. Minister of Defense and Military Production and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Lieutenant General Abdelmajid Saqr, stressed the significance of concerted international efforts to de-escalate the situation in Gaza and preserve civilian lives, as well as ensuring the flow of humanitarian aid to the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip. The Minister's remarks came during his meeting with French Minister of the Armed Forces, Sébastien Lecornu, and the accompanying delegation. For his part, the French Minister hailed the Egyptian-French solid relations and the fruitful cooperation, particularly in the military field. The meeting focused on means of enhancing military cooperation between the two countries and the current developments on the regional and international arena. Israeli occupation troops killed a 30-year-old woman near the West Bank city of Salfit on Tuesday after what the army claimed as an attempted stabbing. The Palestinian Health Ministry reported the death of Amana Ibrahim Muhammad Yaqub, who was shot dead near Salfit, south of Nablus. Yaqub was a lawyer and mother of 3 from nearby Bedia.